Hello, my name is Tameika Hughes-Fateh, and I am the CEO and founder of Go Girl Life Coaching. And I want to thank you for joining our second video segment of Tameika Talk. And this topic today, we're going to be talking about mental health. And I want to take time to really thank these ladies that are joining me today on this Zoom call for choosing to be here and talk about such a sensitive but necessary topic. So before we get started, I would like each of these ladies to introduce themselves and then also share why they're choosing to be a part of this segment today. So let's start with you, Courtney.
Hello, my name is Courtney. I have chosen to be on this segment today just because I have struggled with mental health for 10 plus years. I was diagnosed when I was in 8th grade, and it has always been something that has just been swept under the rug, not a lot of knowledge, not a lot of conversation around that. And I would just like to break that hold of being silent when it comes to mental illness and mental health, just so other people can have that liberty to be able to really express themselves through their mental health and not feel weighed down or held back by that.
Thank you. How about you, Anna?
Hi, I'm Anna. I decided to join this because I am a mother, and I think being a mom and like the whole mental health aspect is something that is not really talked about that much. Just the toll it takes on your mental health being a mom, because you are basically doing anything and everything to protect your child, make sure that they're okay while trying to do your own thing and like work and everything that just goes with being a mom. And I felt like this would be a great segment to join in on.
Thank you. Okay, Jordan.
My name is Jordan, and I was excited to be part of this conversation because, like Courtney, it's been 10 plus years that I've been thinking about mental health, that I've been dealing with various mental health issues, and there's not a day that's gone by that I haven't thought about it and it hasn't impacted me personally and intimately and deeply. And it's a really important topic to me. And I love conversations like this, and it just helps me feel like it means something, like it's not just it's not just meaningless,
Yeah.
So yeah, that's me.
All right. Thank you. All right. Last but not least, Ms. Dina.
Hi, my name is Dina. And
Okay, you're back. You're fine.
hi, my name is Williams, and the reason why I decided to join this segment is because I have a family history of mental health, and I started going to seek therapy about maybe a year ago, and I would like to break the stigma of mental health or the word crazy. Like, I would like to just change the norm and get my kids involved in mental health, because if I struggle with it, I'm sure that my kids have some struggles too from my ancestors. So I just want to incorporate it and normalize getting therapy and talking to someone and just having an outlet and being able to speak up for yourself. And that's why I joined the segment.
All right, thank you, ladies. Okay, as I mentioned, my name is Tameika, and my reason for this topic is, like most of the ladies on here, or all of them actually, is that to break the stigma and also continue the conversation with it's okay to not be okay, and to be on an island with your with your struggling with your I keep wanting to say social media, with your mental health, and also, it wasn't talked about growing up, and I do not want my grandchildren to see mental health in the way that I've seen mental health. I want them to be able to have a safe place to be able to have those conversations of how they're feeling and be okay with it. And then also my children, and then, the younger generation, older generation, I just want to break that generational curse that's been hovering over our heads for so long. So that's my reason. Well, thank you so much. So we are going to, I have some questions just to start the conversation of mental health. So the first one we're going to talk about, and then you can just dive in, whoever feels fit to answer this question, feel like they want to answer this question right away, is what does mental health mean to you?
I can go first, Tameika. What mental health means to me is having a healthy mind, having a peace of mind, being grounded and just in control of my emotions and my thoughts, and just being just taking care of myself. Self-care is another part of like mental health. Just taking care of myself.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's a lot of how I feel when I wake up in the morning and how I regard my day, my relationships, if I'm excited about what lays ahead of me. Because I think when mental health strikes the most, I'm waking up and I'm thinking, damn, I don't want to do anything today.
Mm-hmm.
It's I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to do anything. Who cares? This is meaningless. So I know that, I think for me, it's more of, am I waking up with purpose? And am I feeling connected to people? And am I feeling connected to myself too?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what prime mental health feels like for me.
Mm-hmm. Courtney, do you? Oh,
Yeah, I think for me, so like when you think of mental health, right? Like everyone has mental health in some aspect. Everyone has mental health, but then there's always that disorder word that gets attached. And if you break up the word disorder, it's really just like your body has no order, your mind has no order to try to put things together. And those are people who have mental health disorders, right? Like their minds just can't figure it out. And so when I know that I wake up in the morning and I'm like, I don't want to drag myself to work, or I don't want to get out of bed, or I don't even want to feed my cats, kind of thing, just having a really hard time getting out of bed, then I have to think to myself, okay, what in me is out of order today? What is triggering this? What is bringing this up? How can I be more mindful of my mental health? How can I be more mindful of what's happening to be able to be the best that I can be to the world today? And sometimes it's harder than others. But that's like the first thing that always comes to me, is just try to think of like, what is out of order and what can I do, if anything, to put myself back in order, or do I just need to stay home and sleep or rest, And so it's always that balance that's kind of tricky for me. So yeah.
Okay, for me, ever since I became a mom, I feel like my mental health has changed like in a whole new way. My son he's 16 months almost. And like I said, it just changed my life completely. He wasn't planned, but he's just the most perfect thing ever. However, like I said, it just changed my life where my life does not revolve around me anymore. It revolves around this little dude, and like my entire being and thought process like kind of goes to him. So for me, it's really about like making sure that I don't want this to sound bad, but kind of like lose my mind when it comes to like being a mom, because there are days where he is just having a day and I'm like, oh, I'm about to lose my mind, and because it's tough. It really is like a full-time job on top of my work that I actually do. So for me, it really is just making sure that I am being the best self for not only me but for him. So it's not like, even if I know he's frustrated, he can't tell me. So it's me just kind of reminding myself like, okay, you have to stay calm because he can't tell you what's happening. So for me, it really is just finding ways that I can like ground myself and just be a better version of myself, like for him.
Mhm.
And I have a question for you. So, because I've been thinking a lot about trying to assess my own ability. Like, am I ever going to have the capacity to have kids? Like, I've just been thinking a lot about it, just with like my mental health stuff. So, are you finding like, are you also new to talking about mental health and learning about mental health? So you feel like you're teaching yourself and your son at the same time? Or is it more like you have a foundation already that you're working off of?
That's a good question because I really feel like I want to say, like I say, so he's almost a year and a half. So I would probably say within the past year, it's been where I just have felt, there have been times where I just feel like I'm doing everything. I had a problem with asking for help, and I just expected people to like read my mind, especially like my boyfriend, because I'd be like, well, why can't you just like read my mind and understand that I need this kind of this help? And he's like, well, I don't know that because you're not telling me. And I'm like, and I hate that communication is such a big thing. It is something that I'm personally working on, and I feel like I've gotten better. But yeah, to answer your question, it's something that I have newly found within the past year. Like I said, the fact that I just feel like my life just did a complete 180, and I thought I knew everything about babies, and like I thought I'd be like the greatest mom, and I'm a good mom, but I just thought so many different things, and then actually having a child, and I'm like, wow, I actually know nothing. And it's tough, it was tough, and now it's still tough. I mean, I feel like it's getting better because he's getting older and he's just older, so I feel like it's not as, I don't know, because it is still tough, even though he's not a newborn, but it just comes with different challenges as they age. So I don't know if that even answers your question, but it is something within the past year that I have been working on, I would say, because I do think mental health, especially with moms, I think that's a huge thing that nobody talks about. And I've been trying to kind of like throw it out there here and there with people that I talk to, or like other moms like my age, or just new moms in general. And like, hey, it's tough, but I want you to know that you're not alone. Like Jordan, if you ever have kids, I'm here for you. I got you, girl. So you can come to me and I will be there to help you.
Very, very good to know, Anna. I'm really glad you're part of this conversation because I just don't encounter conversations like this with moms, especially new moms in mental health at all. I think the first time I even encountered it was on a forum online for ADHD moms. So I got diagnosed with ADHD 3 years ago, and it was super illuminating for me. It like explained a lot of things about myself, but there's a lot of things that I am super nervous about. Like, can we take medications when we're pregnant, when we're breastfeeding, when we're like, I'm just, like, there's just stuff like that where I just don't know. I don't know. I don't see conversations like that happening except within all the little crevices of the internet. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm glad you're part of the convo.
I think that the general perspective that the world give us about by being a mother is like, oh, it's so beautiful, and it's not. It is beautiful, but but it is hard. It's hard as hell. And then like like if your mental health was never challenged before, because you learn so much about yourself, and then like they don't come with books to tell you how. People don't come with books. Like even the people that we meet, not whether it's your child or not, like people don't come with books. So you learn about triggers that you didn't know you had. They may, and then start why like, and then that means tapping into like wondering like, why is this a trigger for me? Things like that. There's so much that you didn't know. But yeah, I agree, because like the world tells you like motherhood is beauty. They tell you that part, but I think it's important to know the other part too, because otherwise, like Dina was talking about, that stigma of being crazy, because it makes you feel crazy. For me, I think that having that, not having those conversations growing up and seeing some of the things that that was going on within my own family, extended family and things like that, it was clearly mental health. But you see that, and then you can probably relate to some of those things, but then you're like, oh, well, we're crazy because no one's telling you, like, hey, you're gonna have these days. Like, no one ever told me growing up, like, you're just gonna have days where you're not gonna want to get out of bed, Tameika. And then, and that's okay. And I'm here for you for those days. So that's pretty cool that you was like, hey, Jordan, Courtney, you too. And if you become a mama, you want to be a mama too. Like, you got that support because like you get that. Dina, you great say something? You guys can just go ahead and get off of mute.
Yeah. I know. And I was just thinking like, when you're not a mom and you feel like you got some struggles, it also concerns you about like, if whatever you're feeling, is it gonna go on to your kid? Or like, are you gonna put that like, is my kid gonna end up with the same struggles that I have? And you always try to like think about that and make sure that you be extra cautious with it. But I know like going to therapy for the past year has helped me like so much tremendously. Like with even parenting and being a mom, like it has changed so much how I respond to my kids. How to like step back too, because I have some adult kids too. So I'm learning how to step back and like let them adult a little bit too, and like be not as critical and do the things that I hated for people to do to me with them. So
yeah.
Dina, do you have an example of that, of like something that you're doing now that you wouldn't have done before? Because you just know now more, you're wiser now.
I'm learning to think before I speak. I'm learning to like take a pause, like hit the easy button before I speak to my kids, because I have to know that everything that I say, they're going to internalize it, whether it's good or bad. And because I'm having a bad day or because I'm feeling like something ain't going right, I don't need to put that on them and make them feel some type of way. And just like my mouth, a tongue is a powerful thing. So for a long time, I was more of a physical person, and I've paused that now, and I'm more of a like talker, and I want to be more empowering to my girls than more toxic and stuff like that. Because my mom did spanking, but she also did yelling, and yelling is just as bad as spanking, So I'm trying to find another way how to pause and step away and then come back and revisit the conversation, but not leave it unhandled, because that's avoiding it. It has to be handled, but in a time where I'm in a space where I can say something positive and good to them, where I'm not tearing them down either. So
that's awesome that you said that. It reminded me of something that I saw recently. They were talking about like, we as parents need to be careful that we're not being our children's first bully. And it was like, because like I can have, I think that is inevitable. You're going to have some regrets, but I have, so being a young, like I've been a parent since I was 15. And there's so many things that I learned now. I'm like, oh my God, thank God that, thank God for you for like raising my kids too, because like, being raised with them and things like that. And I also recognize by myself is that due to my own mental health, like I deflected a lot of that on my kids. I deflected my own mental health and my own perspective. It got to one, I feel like there's been times where, because of like my past and because of things that happened and because of my own abandonment issues, that I also recognize that there was a time where I was even putting walls up with my children. And the reason that I convinced myself was like, well, because this too may come to an end and it's going to hurt me when this happened to my kids. So I have to be careful to not put those walls up. And these are things that I'm just now learning now, like how much I've done. And so now I have to, I kind of teeter between like, okay, so then you can fix it. But like, oh my gosh, like I was the worst mother in the world. Like some days you just feel like that because like, you can't, like, it's a lie to say that, oh, I deal with my mental health, but I keep that, like, I don't allow that to affect those around us, because those things we try to hide the most are the things that actually eliminate the most in our lives when we try to do that. And I have been told, and I know it, that that I've coasted on autopilot for a very long time. And I see where that has affected, like, I knew that it was affecting like me getting too close to friends, like to do this and to do that. But like, and then, recently I've realized like, man, how that actually affected me as being a parent too. And being and being a wife. So it's like, oh, that's a tough pill to swallow. And honestly, I'm still working on it. And on that, but yeah, there's a lot that goes. So I'm so glad we're having this conversation.
I want
What
to
do
say,
you, go ahead.
yeah, I want to say to Dina that I love that you are like going to therapy and you're working on, like you said, taking that pause, especially for your girls. Cause I feel like, women and like growing up, it is hard. It's hard for girls growing up. And like you said, you don't want to be that person that adds on to it because you are their mom and you just want to be there for them. So I love that you have taken that step. That's really awesome.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of that, what do you guys think of some of the, I'm sorry, go.
That's okay. No, that's okay, Tameika. No, because one thing that I recognize is that like our kids love us unconditionally, whether we're right or wrong. And I don't want to be in the wrong with them and and be the person that not be positive with them, like, because they gonna love me unconditionally. So it's not fair for me to be able to just not be nice to them or say things that I'm feeling because they my kids. Like, no, I need to take a pause too. So
Yeah,
I'm just learning that, y'all.
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. So like, okay, so now that we're on the topic and we mentioned like women, what do you feel is some of the stigmas that women have facing mental health?
Man, I have a lot of thoughts on this. So I may seem like a warm, cheerful person, and I am. Like, that is truly who I am. But like, I think part of it's my personality and part of it is the mental health issues that I'm experiencing. I'm not like a super peppy, like smiley woman. You know what I mean? Like I just am pretty low key. I'm only gonna smile if I want to. And I think like I said, I think half of it is personality, half of it is mental health. But I think just like when you're, as a woman, when you're dealing with mental health stuff and you just need to take her easy.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel, I feel guilty about that. I feel like, man, Jordan, you're not being friendly enough. You're not being warm enough. You're not being cheerful enough, And I just, that's been really hard for me the past couple of years. Because I've been surrounded by some pretty happy people the last couple of years. And I think it's a little different for women. Guys, I think guys have been socialized where it's more acceptable for them to kind of, I don't know, maybe be a little more gruff. Not every guy's like that, but people are always going to do a little more prodding if you're a woman and you're not like kind of putting on a little show, at least in my experience. So that is something, man, I wish I could I'm working on just like being more comfortable being myself, especially when I'm having a hard time with my mental health. But man, it really does bug me. It really does piss me off quite a bit. So I don't know if anyone else's feelings about that or similar feelings, but that's my thoughts on that.
I can like relate to that, Jordan, because I know like when I suffered with depression, severe depression for a very long time. And like having 5 daughters, I always felt that I had to be strong and I could never like name that I was depressed. And my family has always saw me as strong. Like I'm my mom's oldest kid. Like I've always had to be strong. And it's like people saw me like feeling down and nobody ever reached back to say, are you okay? Like what's going on? Like, or how can I help you? Like nobody ever reached back for me. So I know how you say like having that wall up, like I built that wall that like if I don't take care of me, ain't nobody else gonna take care of me. Just because of nobody ever asking, are you okay? Like you can physically see like that I wasn't okay, but nobody ever asked or bothered to care if I was okay. So I just made it my business to like put this wall up and be strong, and like that's just how it had to be, because nobody ever cared enough to ask like, you okay? So
Yeah.
I understand what you mean by that.
And you were doing the best you could with the knowledge and the wisdom that you had at that point, right? Like, would you agree? Yeah.
Yep, I will. Yep, I would.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Jordan, to go back to what you were saying is like the world, like, you know, like when I was hearing you saying like you don't smile enough, or you don't you're not nice enough. Like I just kind of feel like that there's this stigma, like you're not being feminine enough, or you're not like, you know, it's just those things, and it just make you cringe now, because like there's this misconception, like what Dina said, like you do what you have to do because you have to do it, you know. Like I think that when in the beginning of my marriage, this was huge, because like I needed my husband to see that I am holding this position I'm holding, not because I want to hold this position as a single mama of 5 kids and doing this. I'm holding this position because I had no choice. And that means I had to build this exterior to prepare myself to hold this position. But 2 things happened, was Anna was saying, like, they can't read your mind, and to have the conversation to be able to say that. That's a very vulnerable thing to say when you've been let down being that vulnerable before, first of all. And so it's like, I need to tell you what I need from you. That is when you're conditioned to be the way we are, you know, like, especially like a lot of us on here, we are strong women. And then, you know, it's like the world don't give you permission to just not be okay. So I'm recognizing now that it is important to have that support system, that even though the world's not giving me permission to do this, but I have a support system now where I can be okay. And I can't say I'm 100% there, but I'm getting there. And it's conversations like this that help us get there. But I think that it's so important, because like it does, like, or when you go to the store, smile. I'm going to smile when I want to smile. Like, I'm not going to smile to make you feel better. And it's just like, we are getting put on display in so many ways. And it's just in all those different ways, as women been put on display, it just knocks our mental health down. The importance and priority of taking care of ourselves, it just knocks it down. So yeah, that's one of the that's some of the experiences that I've had with it.
I just want to say that I think another stigma is the fact that for like women and mental health is that we get called crazy a lot. And I obviously don't think that that's fair, because another thing is that women, we are hormonal. Sometimes I don't even know why I feel a certain way. Like if I'm just like down and I'm like upset, sometimes I don't even know why. And I feel like that just that's like my hormones just like acting up, and I'm just like, yeah, you know what? And I was like, I don't feel like doing this, but I don't know why, you know. And that's just something where sometimes I really can't explain. And I feel like that's another time like where that gets hard, because I don't know why this is happening, so I can't tell you why. So I feel like that's another stigma, is, you know, fact that we are hormonal and they play a big role in how like our emotions and how we feel. And the fact that sometimes you just get really passionate, but some people will be like, you're crazy, you know. And it's like, we're not crazy, but I will show you crazy, you know. So
yeah. Now I want to get crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think y'all sometimes as moms, like we play like 100 different roles. Like we have to be moms, we have to be nurses, doctors, lawyers, teachers. Like we have to play the role of everything, and we have to fit into this box that everybody wants us to fit in, while no one is ever asking us, are we okay?
Yeah.
If people could normalize just asking us, are we okay? And understanding that every day we might not be okay, or we might not be good, and just giving us some grace. Because I think a lot of times if we had more grace, we would show up in the world a lot more better than having this perception that everybody think that we supposed, this bubble that everybody want us to fit in is being strong and having the answers to everything. Because not only do our kids have a lot of expectations on us, our partners do too.
Mhm.
And families most of the time do, especially it depends on what birth order you're in. Usually you have that weight on your shoulders of having to show up for everybody. So
Mhm.
I think
Courtney,
that's it too.
yeah, that's a really good point. And Courtney, I know you're not a parent, but you are a super aunt. Because I see, like, how does that, like, so I'm imagining that you can relate to some of this because, like, you do a lot as I call her all the time. I was like, you're like a mom aunt because, like, she's doing so much and, like, to be the best aunt that she can be. Like, how does that play a part with your mental health? And then, like, and what parts of this can you relate to as far as, because you, like, really, that means that you're really close to some young ones in the little ones in your life and things like that. So what is your perspective on this?
Yeah, so my oldest niece is 15, she's going to be 16. And I think the biggest weight that I feel, and maybe it's a manipulation from society or just the way that mental health is perceived, but almost like I have to protect her from my mental health or protect her from whatever's going on because I don't want her to have to like either perceive me or feel like she has to take care of me almost. And so when I am around, especially my nieces and my nephew, I feel this kind of like expectation to just be really strong and to hold it all together no matter what I'm feeling, especially because my niece is currently walking through some depression and some anxiety. And although I can relate with her, I also don't want to show her if I'm having a bad day, because I feel like I just need to protect her and protect her mental health and protect her depression. And I want to take everything on from her, but I don't want to put anything on her, if that makes sense. And so I think that's how I feel with her. And like I said, I think almost society especially manipulates us as women to think that we're being too emotional or that to think that we're being too dramatic or that we're putting on this show when really it's just our mental health. So then we kind of almost gaslight ourselves into saying, oh, Courtney, you're being too emotional right now. Or like, oh, Courtney, like, why are you crying? That's stupid. And so then I've almost masked it myself, like just naturally in the world to not be emotional and to stuff things down because like that's what the world tells us to do, especially as women. Like you don't want to show your emotion because you're being too emotional. Even if it's a very relevant or appropriate emotion in society, you're being too emotional, you're being too out of control, you're being too crazy. And so then we internally stuff everything down, which makes it even worse, right? So like our mental health isn't getting any better because society is telling us that we're being too emotional. And so all of that to say that I feel this strong urge to talk about it, but don't necessarily always practice what I preach, especially when it comes to my nieces and nephew, because I don't want, like I said, I want to protect them and I don't want them to feel like they have to take on my mental illness, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Courtney, I think I've thought a lot about that too. Just I've had a lot of conversations with some of my friends who are single moms raising young kids, and just hearing how she's processing, like, how do I be real with my kids, but not burdening them with the task of parenting me, right? Like, I feel like that's like so hard of a line to walk. And it's like just really delicate and like you're never gonna get it right all the time. And like, I don't know, like what do you tell your niece? Your niece is 13, right? 14?
She's 15, soon to be
15?
Yeah.
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 Like, I totally, I resonate with you on that. Cause for me too, even just struggling with this for 10 plus years and growing up with two younger siblings, and especially me and my sister are, she's like pretty much my best friend. Like we shared a bed for several years. Like she's, and just like me feeling like I need to protect her from my shit, and
Mhm.
feeling like I want to be real with her, but I don't want her to feel too heavy. But also I think people can handle more than we think they can. And I think that like I don't know anything about parenting. I just like, I know nothing, of course. I don't have kids, but like, I don't know. I feel like it's good to maybe teach people, maybe in your proximity, like pain is okay, it's survivable, it's normal. And especially as a woman too, like on that train of thought, I feel like if I'm anything other than like warm, bubbly, friendly, okay, like I feel sort of ugly, like I feel like any other emotions or states of being, like I feel ugly. And I feel like that is specific to being a woman. Like if I'm angry, I feel ugly. If I'm despairing, I feel, I kind of feel like a monster almost. It's really, I don't talk about this feeling a lot, but like, it's a lot.
Yeah.
And I just like that we're talking about this stuff.
Mhm.
Because man, like people in your proximity, like, yeah, I don't know. It's delicate sometimes. Yeah.
Okay. Thank y'all. Thank you so much. Yeah. So like we can go on and on, especially like there's so much. And I just also feel like that once we leave this recording, that there's going to be so much on this topic that we're going to be like, oh, I wish I'd said this and said that. But you know what, when you do, put them in the comments because it will be shared on the social media platform. So remember that, because like we're here to like continue the conversation that it is okay to not be okay. So Dina, you mentioned getting treatment, and Jordan, so a few mentioned getting treatments. It's one way or another. We did get the treatment. So, like, what does that mean for you to get treatment, and where have you seen the most difference in yourself? Like, are you on meds, and is it making you feel? Yeah, I've heard people say that they were on meds, and it makes them feel like they're not themselves. Me personally, like recently I just had to just like really come to the fact that I do deal with anxiety and depression. I am not on anything, and I have learned that going through therapy myself. One of the things that has helped me is just accept it, because like I am I got to keep it together. You got to put on this face, and then as soon as I tell myself, you're going through a depression right now, I feel like that's when the healing begins. Like for me, it's like, all right, so you stop trying to take control because you want to control everything, or even recognizing anxiety for what it is. I used to think anxiety was, oh, if I don't have that paper bag and I'm not blowing into a bag, then there's no way I have anxiety. And so until I start talking to people and going to therapy myself and recognizing like, oh, I think I'm having anxiety. Honestly, like that's why I took those pictures and put them on social media before we came here, because I was trying to like find a way to balance that before we got on here. So like, what are some of your perspectives with treatment, and what does it mean to you to get treatment?
What it means to me to get treatment is I now have somebody to hold me accountable. And what I mean by hold me accountable is I need to do more meditating. I need to do more journaling. I need to do more self-care. And when I come in and I'm rambling, like my therapist always remind me, like, you got them tools in your toolbox. I need you to use them. Like, I need you to pull your tools out. I need you to use them. And that helps me to remember, like, yeah, when you feeling like you don't want to shower today or you don't want to get out of bed, like, why? Why aren't you waking up in the morning meditating? Why aren't you taking a self-care day? Or why are you like, you can feel it, but but you can also get through it. You don't have to be stuck. You don't have to be stuck in it. It's ways to, coast through it and push through. And that's what I've been doing. Like, I enjoy going to therapy. I do not miss it. Like, ain't nothing, don't nothing stop that standing appointment in my life. Like, every day and once a week I'm there, and it just helps me with her just giving me accountability. It helps me remember that all, because I have all the answers within me. It's just a matter of me putting them forth and just using them and putting them into practice. And I think that is more about just keeping in mind, like, I got this. Because I always tell myself, what the one thing that I tell myself that helps me get through everything that I go through is diamonds are made under pressure. And everybody likes diamonds. Diamonds are girls' best friends. Diamonds are beautiful. So I always tell myself everything with diamonds are made under pressure. And you got some pressure, but you can push through it because it's going to come out beautiful in the end. So that's how I make it through most of the stuff that I go through.
What are your thoughts, Anna?
I love that saying, diamonds are made under pressure. I love that because I feel like all women are diamonds.
Yeah. Period.
Like me, myself, I'm not there at the extent where I feel like I need to, get professional help. Because I feel like for me, like, I don't know anybody who doesn't have anxiety. I have anxiety, and of course it's through the roof now that I'm a mom, because I also have experienced what I just learned the technical term is called like intrusive thoughts. So when it comes to like my son, like not all the time, but like certain things I'll think, oh my God, like, what if this were to happen? Like if we're out on our little deck outside and for whatever reason, like the railing just goes out, he's over the railing, and I'm all like, oh my goodness. Or if it's just me and him at home, even though my doors are locked, I'm like, what if somebody just busted in here? And like, terrible, terrible thoughts. And I've never had these before, but I feel like it comes with being a mom. And like I said, my anxiety is just with being a mom. But like the intrusive thoughts that I just learned, and at first I was kind of like, what is wrong with me? Like, why am I thinking these awful things that might not happen? Well, I would love to believe that they would never happen, and just recently, I think I was just on social media, and sometimes, social media could be helpful. And in this case, it was because somebody else was talking about it, and the fact that they were saying like, this is what it's called, this is what it is, you're not alone. And I was like, thank the Lord, because I was like, who would think about these things happening to their kids, and I'm just like, so recently, that was something I had just recently learned about, and it has calmed me a little bit knowing that I'm not alone and I'm not crazy as I kind of thought that I was. But as far as like everything else goes, I feel like I've been doing better with like communicating to my boyfriend, and because he's always been a big communicator, be like, talk to me. And I'm like, I don't want to talk to you because I just live my life not talking. I just like keep everything to myself. And so that's been something that's been hard to do. But like I said, I feel like I have grown, and it is helpful to know that I can have somebody just to like be like, hey, this is wild, but I'm having like these random crazy, I think they're crazy, but they're not crazy, these thoughts. And he's there to be like, oh, just kind of reassure me. And even sometimes if he doesn't say the right things, I do have specific like mom friends that like I can go to that like do reassure me, and I'm like, okay, because he's not a mom, he's a dad, and I feel like there's a big difference between being a mom and being a dad, even though I feel like society, we're kind of trying to make it so it's not such a big difference. But me personally, I don't care what anybody says, moms do way more than dads will ever do. And maybe people won't agree with that, but it is a big difference in my opinion. Though he's a great dad, I'm like, you don't have the breast to breastfeed him, I wish you kind of did, maybe that would help, or like he works full time, so here I am most of the time, even though I work part-time. But that itself is like a different story, because I feel like nobody can watch my kid like I can watch him, like even if he's with his dad, I'm like, well, I hope he's watching him and he's not in the toilet, or like when we go certain places, I'm like, even if there's family around, I'm like, nobody watches him like I watch him. And that's tough, because that also puts another stressor on myself that I'm putting on myself. And that's hard to leave behind, because other people are capable of watching him, but I'm like, not like me, so I just kind of went on a whole rant right there. But I feel like I'm doing better with like speaking to people like friends, obviously my partner, and just also kind of realizing that these things are normal, pretty much, like how I feel is not crazy, it's normal. And I'm not at a point, or have really ever been to a point, where I felt like it was too much for me to take on and I needed like professional help. I don't know if that's something down the road that I'll need, but if I do, I know that it's okay to go down that route.
Thank you.
Just know that I am a mom of 3 adult kids and I worry like crazy. So it's all normal. I worry like crazy about my kids just because like I want to make sure they're always good. So it's normal, believe me. They're grown, fully grown, and I'm always worrying. So
Go ahead, Jordan.
No, you go.
Okay, I'll go.
Yeah, you go.
So for those of you who know me, or just like my circle, know that my mental health treatment has been a journey, to say the least. And so just very basic. Like I said earlier, I was diagnosed when I was in 8th grade. And then from there, I was court ordered to go to therapy, which at this time I was now in high school. So backtrack a little bit. From 8th grade till about I was 21, I was in a inpatient psychiatric facility 23 times. And so that is just in about 11 years, 23 times. And so I was there a couple times, and then finally they court ordered me to go to therapy. And when I first started going, I would drag my chair as close to the door as I could get it and sit and talk to my therapist about like sometimes nothing. Sometimes we would literally just sit in silence. And then sometimes it'd be about like basketball or just about the randomest stuff because I just didn't want to be there. But my therapist luckily knew that something was going on and kept like actively trying to get me to talk and stuff. And now I've been seeing the same therapist for 9 years. And so I've been going to therapy steadily for 9 years and just feel like for myself, it is really important for me to go because like Anna was saying, you have learned to have the capability to talk to people. I have not necessarily mastered that. And it is still something I'm working on, but I know twice a month I have 2 hours twice a month to just let anything out that I want to talk about. And my therapist is getting paid. That's what I tell myself. He's getting paid to listen, so I can just say whatever I want. And so sometimes it helps me to say whatever I want, but also I just, because it's been so long. And then also with treatment, I have had a super rocky relationship with medication. I say that we're on an on again, off again relationship a lot. And so I know for myself, and I've had a doctor explain it to me where maybe your baseline is like down lower to tolerate different things. So like for myself, I don't tolerate sensory things very well. And so my baseline is very low for that. But if I'm on a medication, it gets a little bit higher, so I can tolerate a little bit more. And just going through treatment for the past 15 years or so, I have really struggled with medication. I've really struggled with, and that's all mental health, but struggling with like, I'm not good enough. I can't control my brain enough. And so now I have to take medication. And so I struggle with not being able to control myself. And so then I'll stop taking the medication because I'm like, well, I can do it myself. I can have this control. I'm able to control my mind. And so I'll stop taking it. And then I end up taking it again. And so I do have a really bad relationship with medication that I'm working on. But I think for my treatment specifically, what has helped the most is being able to build a relationship with a trusted professional. And then also just living the journey, like just trying to see what works best for me, see what different healing works best, and just really being open and honest, having a core group of people that I do feel safe with that I can talk to outside of my therapist, and then talking to my therapist. And I am learning taking meds for the time being is helpful for me. It doesn't have to be for the rest of my life, but for the time being, until I'm able to get those tools that I can help my anxiety or help my PTSD the best, taking the medication is what works best right now. So that's my treatment journey in a very rambled on conversation, but yeah.
Yeah, Courtney, I identify a lot with a lot of the just the should I try this? Should I try this? Should I try this? Like, does treatment even work? I don't freaking know. I don't know. Like, man. So in addition to ADHD, I've since puberty just experienced severe depression, good healthy sprinkle of anxiety, and just, I think, oh man, I feel like treatment, when I was younger and looking for a solution, I think I associated the word treatment with cure. And I just got so disappointed and so hopeless and just really discouraged by that. But I have learned, I've just dabbled in a bunch of different treatments, right? Like tried a bunch of antidepressants, exercising, eating well, meditating, Dina. Yes, like all of those things work to manage it. They're all like pieces of the puzzle to manage it. It just, yeah, there have been times of pretty extreme hopelessness where I'm like sitting across from a therapist and the therapist doesn't know what to say. And I don't know what to say. And I'm like, if I can't even go to this mental health professional and they don't know what to say to me, I'm done. I'm lost. Like, I'm untethered now. I don't know what to do. Like, there have been many, many moments like that. So man, it's like it's like very emotional for me to talk about because, man, I still feel like we have so far to go in terms of what treatments are available and considered acceptable. I think there's a lot of different drugs we haven't tried. I feel like there's a lot of different solutions that I think we should be more open to, that could really work. Yeah, I think someday, a couple 100 years from now, if we're all still alive, we're gonna look back on like the 2000s and be like, that shit was primitive. Like, I cannot believe they made these people take antidepressant medications and it took 6 weeks to figure out if it was going to work. And then they had to switch to the next one. And, there's like weight gain and all this other shit. And like, I just think we can do so much better. And I don't know if there's ever going to be a cure, but I do think we can do a lot better. And I've found things that keep my head above the water. Is there a cure? No, for me, I don't know. I don't think so, but oh man, it's been a journey as well. Yep.
That's real, Jordan. Thanks for sharing that. And when you were talking, I'm thinking about like even like I remember the very first time I saw one of the I don't know if, because we're recording this, I don't know if it's okay for me to say the name of any meds or anything, but you know how like you see those antidepressant meds and things like that on the commercials. And one of the things and it just so happened to be a day when I was just like feeling like I was at my low with depression, and it was just like sitting in bed and the commercial came on, and you know, like the whole visual was this lady, she was depressed, and so she started taking this medicine. So she had this face, and she created this face, and then she took this medicine. But what I noticed the most was like, oh, but she never got rid of the face. She never got rid of the face. She just put the face in her pocket. So like, so, you know, to me, there was it was a perspective, you know, there's a clear visual perspective of like you said, like not a cure for it. It's still there, but it's there. These are like to manage you, to help you get by. And then like, and it's a scary thought for some of us to think that like, well, why am I going to do it? And then also, but what if I am, and you can't, and I get so confused, not to like make this a whole pharmaceutical conversation, but I get so confused when I think like, well, I can't, if I take this for my depression, and then it's going to make me have these other thoughts. Like, I don't want that. Been there, done that. I've had thoughts of like not wanting to get up, just pray that I don't get up in the morning, or how I could just like be going and make it life better for everybody. So like, yes, I remember thinking that, and to this day, I'm like, man, I don't know if that's like that's the thought. But one thing I want to point out before we move forward, like, it's just like a for example of like how we are so conditioned when we talking about like our like we're conditioned even talking with each other. I'm just like how you know, when Anna said she went on a rant, and you know, like, or Courtney is like, you know, like I'm rambling and things like that. Like, no, you're telling your truth and it's okay. But like that's a true example of like, this is how we are conditioned to think. Like we have to be able to articulate how we want to say it, and keep it little, because like in a, you know, like in a normal setting, it would feel like we're ranting. It would feel like we're doing this, or, you know, like we're carrying our emotions, which someone recently told me that be okay with your emotions. Like, be okay with your emotions. And I'm like, oh no, it's a man's world, you know? So, but I just wanted to point that out, because I thought like, and that's on the outside looking in, I do it all the time, because like, I don't know about you, but myself, what you call it, those intrusive thoughts have been like working in me since we've been on this screen. And like, you know, and they've just been going like even since before we got on this screen. But I just wanted to call that out, because like, man, like we do that everywhere. We do that amongst ourselves, because that's just how conditioned we are. And I didn't look at it as a ramble or a rant or anything like that. You're looking at it as their truth, but that's how we're conditioned. So like, our truth has to be told. Even with me, like when I'm in therapy, like I'm in couples therapy, my husband and I, and there are some times where I sit there and I think like, you don't really want to know what I really want to think right now, because like I feel like that I don't think y'all can handle what you know, what I'm really thinking right now. You know, I just prejudge the situation, feel like that it's not looked at, or I'm gonna like, because also, I mean, I'm not saying it's fair, but it's real, because it's two guys, right? It's my husband, and they're like, you don't really want to know how I'm feeling. So I'm gonna keep that to myself, because like I think that it's just gonna be you're just gonna just look at it as if I'm being emotional, or if I'm just, you know, doing that. So yeah, that's real. Anybody else?
Yeah, I have one last thought here. So while Jordan was talking and you talking, Tameika, I'm a big like analogy girl. And so the analogy of putting together a puzzle came to my mind. But if you think of it as a puzzle that has like just a round puzzle, no edges, no circles, but like So you're putting together a puzzle, or you are going through mental health treatment, you get a diagnosis, you get that piece together. That's really exciting. But now you're going down and you can't figure out where another piece goes. So you get kind of despaired and kind of deflated. And then all of a sudden you figure out another piece, and then you get excited, and then you get despaired and deflated. Like that, just that roller coaster of like trying to put together a puzzle, but not knowing where the puzzle pieces all go. Maybe not, like maybe you're missing some pieces. And like just like that's the best way that I could equate mental health treatment is there's all these, there's a ton of resources for mental health, but some are missing. Some you don't know where they fit in. Some you don't know how it fits with you. Like, and so just really trying to put together this puzzle, and just like, even if you have most of it done, like you can't figure out where the last pieces go, or like stuff like that. And so just that despair and that deflation of not being able to complete your puzzle, knowing that maybe eventually you'll have this beautiful masterpiece, but right now you don't, because you're missing these pieces and you can't figure it out. And so like literally just balancing the beautiful masterpiece with the tension of not being there quite yet, and not knowing how to get there, and not knowing the tools or the resources, or getting frustrated because you're bottlenecked in a community that has all these resources but not enough to go around, or just all of this different stuff. And just resting in that tension can be super exciting, but yet super deflating, and fill yourself with like a lot of despair and hopelessness all at the same time. And so I think that's the best way to sum it all up of mental health treatment for me.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
I just want to like say one thing. I just want to encourage you ladies and anybody else that's listening or watching to like just always give yourself grace. Like remember that like it takes time and it takes a lot of energy to get up and do the day-to-day things, whether your mental health is good or whether it's not good. And just always remember to give yourself grace. That's what I'm learning. Give myself some grace. It ain't gonna always be perfect. It ain't gonna always align right, but it'll come together eventually. So
Yeah, I love that you said that, Dina. Because I feel like moment to moment, if I'm feeling bad, it's usually self-compassion that I need in that very moment. And everyone always talks about like, well, give yourself the love, give yourself the self-love. And like, I think like I never knew what that meant. I was like, you guys are full of shit, come on. But I think it's like, I think it's as simple as disengaging from overly critical thoughts and forgiving yourself over and over and over and over again for like the grave error that you think you're making when you're not doing anything wrong. You're just being yourself. So yeah, I appreciate that you brought that up.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, I was looking down because like when Anna was talking, we're talking about anxiety and then intrusive thoughts and those thoughts and what those, it was a reminder of like what that anxiety is, because I do a lot of what ifs and you're like, where the heck did that come from? And so I remember seeing, I was trying to see what the person's name was who did this, but I just want your thoughts and things on this. It says your first thought is what society has conditioned you to think. The second thought defines who you are. What are your thoughts on like that? You know, I've heard before people say like, we are not, I guess it just gives a little bit more details, because I've heard people say you are not, we're not in control of our first thought, but we are our second thought. That first initial thought we have. So like this, I felt like this was just kind of gave a little bit more details to that statement when I've heard it, because like I've only heard it a couple of years ago. And I was like, that was kind of surprising and kind of a relief for me, not thinking I'm crazy, you know, because like some of the thoughts that come to your head, like, what the heck, you know? So any thoughts on that statement?
Can you say the quote one more time?
Yep. Your first thought is not what society, your first thought is what society has conditioned you to think. The second thought defines who you are. for me, I thought when that kind of helped me a little bit with my anxiety, because I can literally be driving down the street and then think like, what if there was a big earthquake right now? Like what, and my car just fell in it. Or what if is this the day that I'm driving to work and then I don't make it, and then it's like, and then I die? Like it just goes like this big old snowball effect for me. It's ridiculous, like some of the things. So like those intrusive thoughts and thinking like, how did it get there? How did I get there? It's not like I just watched a movie or something before I came to work and this happened. Like, how did I get to this place? And to me, there are usually moments where, okay, where you spiral, like, where is this coming from? Like, how is this? Like, when I think about that, it's like, okay, those are the intrusive thoughts. But who I am is like how I handle, like, what am I going to do next with this thought? Like, am I going to like take the bus to work now, because I'm afraid that am I going to just drive to this bus stop down the street and then get on the bus and go to work? Or am I going to like do what I pray about it and keep it pushing, and go to work? So I don't know. That was one of the thoughts I had on it, but I've always wanted to hear others' thoughts on that perspective.
I personally have never heard that quote before, but I think I like it because when I was talking about like the intrusive thoughts, it's like the same thing when I'm driving. Like if I have my son with me, I'm like, what if we were in a car accident and I swear to God, if someone hit us when he's in the car, I don't care if I have a broken arm or a leg, I know my adrenaline's gonna be pumping. I'm gonna beat that person. I don't care if they're hurt. I was like, that's just my first thought. My first thought is like, I don't care what happens to this person or me. I was like, first, I'm gonna make sure my baby okay. Second, I'm gonna go off on this person. But then I'm like, I was like, you know what? I don't really know what I would do. Besides, probably the first thing would be like, I don't care what happens to me, but I'm gonna check on my kid.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, I don't know where I'll go. But so I feel like that kind of is falling into that quote. Like my first thought is like, well, I'm gonna beat this person's ass no matter what. But then my second thought is like, I really don't know what I would do besides make sure that my kid is okay, So I like it.
Thanks.
I don't know, like I call it my term for that type of stuff is like stinking thinking. So I think that it like has our mind going so much. And like we always got to say like when you reference like the car accident, like would you beat them? But then let's think, what if a person was going to a diabetic coma and they hit us on accident? You know what I mean? So we always gotta try to like twist and turn our mind to think something different, because our mind will lead us down a road of like, oh man. And then sometimes we gotta pull back and just think like, okay, this ain't what it really is. And like, let's switch it. I think sometimes we gotta just trick ourselves actually into thinking something positive, because it's so easy to like go into that negative realm and like think bad. But sometimes we gotta trick ourselves like, it's gonna be good. I don't care what happened. And I know it's hard because a lot of times I find myself like, okay, I gotta trick myself a little bit more today than I did yesterday. But
Yeah,
I think it's just like tricking your mind into just knowing that like it's gonna be a good day and things are gonna flow regardless. So that's all I gotta say.
Yeah, that's good. Because we really don't have no control over it, right? Like we don't have no control over like other people and other things in like every scenario that like, so,
And I don't think that I'm ever gonna have control of my mind. I think that freedom for me is gonna be accepting that my brain is wired a little bit funky. A few wires loose here. And it's always probably gonna think weird shit. It's like probably always gonna might assume the worst, maybe. But like you were saying, Tameika, like the first thought is that crazy, whatever my computer brain is doing, whatever, who cares? I don't know. It's doing its thing over there. And then the second thought is like the action that is rooted in the values that you hold dear to yourself. So you're responding according to your values instead of reacting according to these thoughts that are always bubbling up. No matter what I do, they're always there. I don't think they're ever going away.
Yeah.
I just have to like step back and look at them.
Yeah.
I've heard people can do that. It's happened for like a second or two, a few different times, but man, it's like a freight train some days. I'm like, I don't even know this is possible to even like detach from this. Wow. But no, I like that
Yeah.
concept a lot. Yep.
It kind of reminded me when it went back to that pharmaceutical commercial, like, okay, like you said, like, we're never going to be like at some point, like, you got to accept who you are. Like, you know, like I embrace my, and thank you for saying this, because like I use the word crazy, like I embrace my crazy, but like what that's doing by saying it like that, well, I embrace flaws and all. I am who I am, and and that's a process. Like, you know, I ain't got it all together. I'm not working here like, hey, you know what, like you you know, I feel like that, because like I'll be like, I'm the shit. But saying that is embracing flaws and all, you know, like you're not perfect. And you are who you are, you're who God made you to be, and it's okay. Like I could sit there in the mirror and like point out all the things I don't like about myself, but then like, well, why not? You know, like just be you know, because I think that when we do that, like people are not, you know, them things that you sit in the mirror, we look at and think like, well, the people don't care. They care, you know, it kind of goes into that, like people don't care what you say and what you do. People care about how you make them feel. They don't care if you don't like, you feel like that you're a little overweight, like how are you making them feel, you know, and things like that. Like that's just all us, you know, like what kind of person you are, you know, like I'm a screwed up, my wires are, but I love genuine, you know, like, you know, like I'm still, you know, like at least people tell me that, you know, that at least I'm told that every once in a while, you know, so.
I always tell myself, Tameika, and you ladies, that I'm a work in progress.
Yes. Yeah.
Under construction all the time.
Yes, under construction. Love that.
Under construction all the time. And it's
Mhm.
like, I'm always adding more bricks and more cement and layers. And
Yeah,
I'm just building. And it ain't gonna never be perfect. I mean,
you're right.
my house might not be perfect. It might be a little to the left, a little to the right. And when the storm come and blow it down, I'm just gonna start building from
Start it
scratch
back up again. Yeah.
But I ain't gonna never be like, I always tell myself, like, not easily broken. I got this.
Yeah.
So
There's this old gospel song called Please Be Patient With Me. And it's like, God is not through with me yet. That song comes through my head a lot. It's like, but you know what? I think that sometimes I take the yet out, because I don't think there's gonna, to the day I die, there's gonna always be some growth opportunity. There's gonna always be something. And this is who I am, like, you know, embracing that. But that's why I think it's important to like have these conversations, because like, it's okay to have those wires a little, that's part of your makeup and who you are, you know, so. I know that we're going to be wrapping up soon. So I do want us to, if you guys can share, what is something that you, and Dina, you did a little bit earlier. So how can you encourage other women who watch this, and then us that are also on this Zoom call now, moving forward as they're having their mental health challenges? So what are some things that you can do? Again, I'm going to go down the line of like how you all are. So Jordan, you're in the top line. So what is something that you would like to share to encourage women?
First thing that comes to mind is how effective a sense of humor can be in getting through some of this shit. Like I have like, me and Courtney, like we were coworkers for a while, eventually friends as well. And sometimes like, I just really appreciated that we had certain phrases that we use to indicate, yep, same as it was yesterday and 3 months ago, still sucks. I still don't know what's going on. But I got my body to work today. So, I mean, we said, bag of bones. I'm a bag of bones today. I got my flesh to work. And I feel like those kinds of interactions, things like that, you know, keeps you going. And of course, like you don't want to like you just want to use it effectively, right? Like a sense of humor. And also, I'm really bad at this, but just drawing people in. I know you hear it a million times, and it's hard when you're struggling with your mental health, but man, I never feel better than when I'm like just being who I am with people that I know love me and accept me. So yeah. And also, yeah, it might take a little while, and you might run into some mental health professionals that don't know what they're talking about, but or know what to tell you, because it's because they're human and because only you know you best, right? You just got to trust yourself. You got to trust that you know what you need, and you'll figure it out eventually. That's what I have to say.
Thank you. Like that. Thanks, Jordan. Courtney, what about you?
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts marinating in my brain, but I think a couple things that have helped me the most. The biggest is recently being able to ask myself why. So one struggle I have is being able to tell the difference between guilt and shame. And so I feel shame for a lot of things that I should not feel shame for. So the biggest difference between guilt and shame is guilt is knowing that an action is bad. So say you cut someone off on the highway. Guilt would be, well, I feel bad for cutting that person off because I cut him off. Shame would be, I feel bad for cutting that person off because I'm a bad person. And so now you're taking whatever happened and putting it on you as a mark of character. And so recently in my mental health journey, I took a healing course through a Christian healing course. And that was one of the biggest things they stressed, is being able to tell yourself, why do I feel shame for this? Do I deserve to carry this shame? Is it guilt that I should rather be feeling? Or is this misplaced guilt altogether? And that's one thing that I feel all the time. And so, for example, like if I perceive that I said something wrong on the phone, I have to walk myself through that. Am I feeling shame? Did I actually say something that I should feel shame for? Did I do something that I should feel guilty for? All of that, and walking myself through those steps, because I think that's what gets me the most, is constantly feeling like I'm messing up, or constantly feeling like I did something wrong, or kind of put myself in where I am. And then also kind of like what Jordan was saying, having a safe community of people that you can talk to, that you can get together with, and just be really open and real and honest with, just to be able to have that safe space where you don't have to have that mask. I mean, sometimes I think, unfortunately, the mask is necessary. You can't go around telling people exactly how you feel. Otherwise, they're gonna be like, yeah, you can't be in the community. So I think just being able to have that safe community of people that you can talk to. And then lastly, another big thing that helps me is just always having a drive, always having a reason why, just to get up in the morning. Like, is it because I want to be a good role model for my niece and nephew? Is it because I just want something simple as like, I want a bagel, so I have to get out of bed, like just having a reason to keep going, and to have that reason like in my head, because sometimes it can be so easy to spiral. But if I have that reason as to why I'm keeping going, then that's really helpful for me as well. So yeah.
Nice. Thank you, Courtney. Dina, do you mind sharing?
Yes. So how I would encourage another woman is to just have like self-love. Know what you need, or try to figure out what you need, I should say, because sometimes we think we know what we need and we really don't. And just always like put yourself first, and have people around you that believe in you and want to empower you, and that really care about you and your mental health and all of those things. Because I think having a team of support around you is very important. someone that's willing to like listen and not judge and just like be there for you overall. I think that's very important. Um, and just like stepping into your power um, as someone that might um, might struggle or might not, because sometimes I feel like I don't know if I'm depressed or I don't know if I'm just being lazy. Like I teeter between those two things. Like, am I just not wanting to do something because I'm stubborn, or am I really depressed and like can't take no more? Like I run it. Sometimes I have that fine line of not knowing where I'm at all times. But I think just like I said, giving yourself grace and just having a team of people around you that really love you and support you. And people that don't, just stepping away and doing you and knowing that like you are the person, you are like the captain of your ship, and like you are in control of your own destiny. Like, so that's what I'm gonna leave you ladies with.
Hey, thanks, Dina. Okay, Miss Anna.
Okay, I definitely agree with having like that support system in the community. And I think another big thing is being your own advocate, because only you know how you feel. So like if you know that you're not feeling okay, like you kind of have to just internalize that and realize that, you know, just like basically speaking your truth, like I'm not okay, and just like putting it out there, but staying true to who you are and how you feel, because so many times women will go, you know, to like doctors or, you know, like mental health professionals, and you say stuff and it's just like whoosh, they're like they hear something completely the opposite of what you said, and it's like that's not what I said, you know, and they will take whatever they hear and like, you know, write down something that's not even how you feel or anything that's going on with you, because they just think that they know. So it's another thing of going through like trial and error when it comes to like health professionals in that field too, but being your own advocate, or if you can find somebody who is actually going to listen to you and actually like it is on your side, I think that's very important as well, because like I said, so many times as women, like we say something like, oh, like this hurts, or they say it's something else and it's not. And so many times, you know, unfortunately things have happened to women because people didn't listen to them, you know, and so it's like a lot of people go unheard. And I feel like, you know, staying true to yourself and how you feel, and, you know, not letting go of that. And if you know you need help, unfortunately, yeah, you might go through trial and error, but if you are staying true to yourself and you're going down that route, then I feel like, you know, you're gonna be better off in the long run, just staying true to yourself and being your own advocate, because it's like I said, it's tough out here. Not everybody listens to women, and they should, because we know everything.
Yeah. Well, thank you, ladies. And yeah, I agree with what everyone is saying. Also, I want to just point out there that it's important to have that support system, and also lean into that support system. You know, for me, it's like I've had the support system for quite a while now. I'm just now getting to a point to really lean into them. And you know, it was so liberating to be able to send a text when you're going at your worst and just tell the person like, hey, I'm not okay today, I'm struggling, and to be able to do that. And you know, so I think it's important to it is not easy if you are struggling with your own, you know, issues, because it's very vulnerable regardless of who it is. That, you know, like I know that we have our support system, and sometimes like we want to go so far, but like lean into that, and then take a chance and like own that support system, like, you know, that they're there for you. Because for me, that was the leaning into them. I didn't if I had not taken that leap of faith in doing that, I don't believe that I would be here right now to be able to have a conversation that I'm having right now. And so I think that's really important for us to do. And yeah, and that's it. So Thank you, ladies, so much for us having this conversation and being vulnerable. And then those that are watching this Zoom call, I just want you to please leave comments or anything that you may have regarding this topic that we have here. And I just want to, I don't have words to express how much I appreciate you, ladies. Just like, it was a choice to be here today and have this conversation. And it was not an easy conversation. So I'm hoping that this is that people get out of here, that how this is not okay for little people like him to be able to live in the world, to then be able to embrace himself. So that is a perfect conclusion to our, our segment. So again, thank you all so much. Go be brave, go be you, go girl. And I'm having a hard time. Right.